For more on this story, we're joined by Phil Clark. He's a professor of international politics at the School of Oriental and African Studies of the University of London. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us here on the program today. Now, the genocides in Bosnia and Rwanda were witnessed by UN peacekeepers, and they weren't able to stop any of it, which leaves us asking, what good is the UN when atrocities like genocide are being conducted right before their eyes?
There's no doubt that the UN has a very troubled history when it comes to stopping genocides, intervening, even letting the world know that genocides are happening. The UN is a very slow-moving beast. What we saw in Rwanda in 1994 was that the UN's major preoccupation was to protect their own peacekeepers on the ground. It then hit enormous administrative gridlock in Geneva and New York, which made it almost impossible for the UN to do anything in Rwanda to rescue Tutsi who were being massacred. And this is not just a story about Rwanda. This is a story about the UN's slowness and its unwillingness to intervene in genocides almost wherever they've happened in the last 30 or 40 years.
And right now in India, Muslims are being terrorized by Hindutva mobs, and we're seeing and constantly hearing this anti-Islamic rhetoric from members of the BJP. The president of the Genocide Watch, Gregory Stanton, says he thinks everything happening right now there in India is leading to a Muslim genocide persecution. There's hints saying that a Muslim genocide is going to happen in the near future. What needs to be done to prevent it?
I think someone like Stanton is absolutely right. Arundhati Roy and other very prominent Indian commentators have been saying exactly the same thing, that we're seeing the conditions for genocide being produced against the Muslim population in India, that when you have Modi and other senior leaders using this inflammatory, violent rhetoric against the Muslim population, when you see laws being changed to deny the Muslim population citizenship, when you see the courts and other institutions being hamstrung so that they can no longer protect religious minorities in a country like India, we should be very fearful about what's happening there. I think where the pressure now needs to come from is firstly Indian civil society, which has already been very brave in the face of this genocidal push. But outside powers have a huge amount of leverage over Modi and the Indian government. They are big business partners with the Indian state. They have arms deals. They have all sorts of other diplomatic relations with India. But the likes of the US, the UK, Russia, and other parties have preferred to make Modi a very close partner rather than holding him to account for what he's doing in relation to the Muslim population at home.
So do you think that these international players that would definitely have an effect on the course of action that's being taken within India are going to let this slide?
That seems to be the trajectory at the moment, that the interest of most of the Western powers is really to continue good economic and political relations with India. They think that that's more important than protecting populations on the ground. Unfortunately, this is a story that we see all over the world, that actors who perhaps have the scope to influence genocidal leaders would prefer to do deals with those leaders. That was certainly part of the picture in Rwanda in 1994, was that the genocidal government of the day was very closely aligned with France. France knew exactly what was happening in Rwanda in the lead up to the genocide. They knew that there were preparations for the mass murder of Tutsi, but from France's point of view, they wanted Habyarimana's government as a very close ally in the field. It was very important for France's sphere of influence in Central Africa, and that was a big part of the reason why not only France didn't alert the world to the genocide that was unfolding. In fact, the French government were actively involved in the arming of the militias that then murdered large numbers of Tutsi. And France has never come to terms for its own role in that genocide. So the role of Western powers in most of the genocides of the last 100 years is something that we have to put a much greater spotlight on.
Accountability as well. All right. Professor Phil Clark, thank you so much for joining us here on TRT World.